Pleasant day, everyone. I am actually Elisha B. Daga-ang, the SMA2 from Econ 122 73106 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. TTHS. This is my assignment number 3 titled National Income. First question, define the following. First, GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. It is the market value of all final goods and services at prices prevailing in the market produced in the domestic territory of a country in a year's time. Second, GNP, or Gross National Product, is the total market value of all final goods and services produced by nationals of a country during a year. It is a monetary measure of the current output of economic activity in an economy that includes the income that our citizens earn abroad and excludes the income that foreigners earn here. Third, exports. It is the goods and services that are produced domestically and sold abroad. Fourth, imports. It is the goods and services that are produced abroad and sold domestically. And fifth, net export. The value of the nation's export minus the value of its import, which is also called as a trade balance. Second, differentiate GDP from GNP. Explain thoroughly the difference and give examples. Both GDP and GNP are important economic indicators, but they measure different aspects of the Philippines' economic activity. In terms of location, GDP focuses on where the production happens, while GNP focuses on who does the production. In terms of ownership, GDP considers output by foreign-owned companies within the Philippines, while GNP excludes it. Conversely, GNP includes income earned by Filipino companies operating abroad, while GDP excludes it. In terms of what does it measure, GDP measures the domestic production within the Philippines, while GNP measures the production by Filipino nationals, regardless of their location. Examples of both are, in GNP, if the Philippines produces cars, electronics, provides services like tourism and BPO within its borders, the value of these goods and services would contribute to its GDP. In GNP, if Filipino citizens working abroad, or OFW, send remittances back to the Philippines, those remittances would be included in the country's GNP. Therefore, the difference between gross domestic product and gross national product lies in the consideration of production by Filipino citizens outside the country. GDP measures only the domestic production within the Philippines, while GNP includes the production by Filipino citizens regardless of their geographical location. Third question. Differentiate exports from imports and net exports. Explain thoroughly the differences and give examples. In the context of international trade, aside from their definition, it's important to understand the differences between export, imports, and net exports. In terms of perspective, exports look at what a country sells, while import look at what it buys. In terms of direction of flow, exports involves goods and services flowing out of the country, while imports involve flowing them in. In terms of impact, exports generally have positive economic impacts, while imports can have both positive and negative impacts depending on the specific goods and services. In terms of what it measures, exports measures the value of goods and services that the country sells to foreign markets. Imports measures the value of goods and services that a country buys from foreign markets, while net exports measures the overall trade surplus or trade deficit of a country. Examples of the three terms. In export, in the case of the Philippines, export may include imagining a Filipino company making garments and selling them in the United States, or electronics, agricultural products like fruits and vegetables, and services like BPO and tourism. These goods and services are produced within the Philippines and sold to other countries. In imports, in the case of the Philippines, imports may include imagining a Filipino company importing smartphones from China or machinery, petroleum, raw materials, and consumer goods that are produced in other countries and brought in the Philippines for consumption or further production. In net exports, which is also known as trade balance, as its formula is net exports equals exports minus imports. If the Philippines exports more commodities than its imports, it has a positive net exports value, indicating trade surplus. If it imports more than it exports, there is a negative net exports value, indicating trade deficit. In particular, if the Philippines export 100 billion and imports 80 billion, net exports are 20 billion positive trade surplus. If the Philippines export 15 billion pesos and import 70 billion pesos, the net exports will be negative 20 billion, resulting to negative or trade deficit. Question number 4. What are the methods in computing GDP? Write the formula for each method. The three methods of GDP are: first, output approach is equals to value of final goods and services produced minus values of intermediate goods and services. Second, income approach. It is equals to compensation of employees plus gross operating surplus plus gross mixed income plus taxes on production and imports minus subsidies. And lastly, expenditure approach, which is equals to consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports. Question number 5. State examples of each category or subcategories from the main category in a formula in computing GDP approaches. In GDP expenditure approach, since expenditure approach is equals to C plus G plus I plus NX, to state example in each categories, the C, which stands for consumption expenditures, have three subcategories on: first, durable goods, example, appliances; second, non-durable goods, example, food; third, services, example, transportation. Next is, the G stands for government spending, which have as well as three subcategories on: first, government consumption expenditure, example, salaries of government employee; second, government investment expenditure, example, schools construction; third, transfer payment, example, social security benefits. Next is investment expenditure with four subcategories on: first, business capital, example, equipment; second, residential capital, example, house renovation; third, inventory accumulation, example, goods produced but not yet sold; and fourth, government capital, example, public facilities. Lastly, net export expenditure with two subcategories on: first, exports, agricultural products; second, imports is example of petroleum products. That's all. Thank you.